our first caller. I say the first caller. He's the only one at the moment. Hi, Gary. How are you?
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well.
Oh, excellent. Without God, the fact is we're stuck with unintelligent design. There's no creative purpose, no agenda. I describe it as gladiator wars. 4 billion years of little DNA molecules fighting with each other. The swords come out, the big sharp teeth, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The whole thing is basically a slaughterhouse. And my argument is all this anti-religion stuff is just fine to get rid of the gay bigotry and the other social nastiness of the religious suppression. But if you're just going to replace it with another fairy tale, I mean, you call it the Magic Sandwich Show, you could call it the Voodoo Economics Show, or the False Hope Show, or the I'm going to pretend I'm not going to die show, or I'm going to pretend I'm super attractive and marvelous show. Humans are full of delusions, not only the God delusion, but the whole life purpose, Santa Claus, Merry Christmas, I love you mom delusion. I mean, the delusions are everywhere. And everybody, in my opinion, seems to be running from a truth that is, we are part of an unintelligent design that has basically created a carnage slaughterhouse. And you all seem fine with that. What I'm doing is arguing for a minimization of the suffering. I value suffering. I say any animal, any sentient experienced suffering has value. That's the creator of value.
I fundamentally disagree with you about the purpose of life.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of pointing out, is that, yes, you're an atheist, I'm an atheist, and we fundamentally disagree on what life is, okay? Yeah, I think the only value in the universe is sentience. Feeling organisms create value. There is no value till one exists. My point is the model is basically a replicating DNA molecule completely out of control. It's like a universal forest fire or something. It's not a positive event. I think it's a zero-sum game, and I think life has been a preposterous fail. It's preposterously wasted the most valuable thing in the universe. Unintelligent design has squandered it preposterously because it doesn't have a brain and it doesn't know suffering matters. But suffering does matter. This is a slaughterhouse. This is insane. But the point is I would argue that this is the job of philosophers isn't just to be a pawn or be a bishop or be a knight or be a king. The job of philosophers is to understand the entire chessboard and understand you don't live your life just to be happy. You have to live your life in the context of the game you're playing, and you can't dump dioxin in somebody else's yard, you can't rape women, you can't do a lot of things because you are stealing too much value from the world for your gratification. We all can understand that that's what a philosopher does. He understands basic ethical equations and he draws those up. I'm saying the basic ethical equation, if we look at it, is there's no rescue mission here for the human race. It can accomplish absolutely nothing, and it's a high-risk game, a very high-risk game. 1 million people this year will commit suicide. We don't even want to go into the numbers of people who have Alzheimer's disease, who have all kinds of other things that might make them say, I'd rather not have been. Just imagine us, the human race, okay, as a fire engine running down the road at 100 miles an hour, and it's taking a risk of doing all kinds of damage. It's doing it very sloppily, and there's no fire, there's no damsel in distress, there's no rape to prevent. It's a high risk. So if I build a nuclear plant under those conditions, you would say, what are you doing? You're not producing anything. Why are you exposing us to potential radiation? That would be my argument. Guess what? This is insanely stupid. We just have a bunch of organisms chasing an ego gratification. It's a fake hunger for a fake cheese. We're running a wheel at a very high risk of creating preposterous amounts of suffering, and you will gain absolutely nothing. There's no point in making one of these. Why would you make one? Would you want to? Would you think it would be ethical to implant life on Mars, or to implant life on Pluto, or to implant life on Saturn?
I mean, it comes to you next, and I just want to clarify exactly what Gary's saying. Gary, we're going back to one of the first comments I made to you. Basically, you think it's irresponsible of humans to have children because they inevitably are going to suffer.
Well, I think it's irresponsible to not have a very deep conversation about it first. I think that we should at least oblige people to show enough competence that they would show to drive a car or to do something else in society, to conduct the biological experiment that is creating a new human being and creating a sentient being that is going to suffer. Yes, it's a significant fact that it may, in fact, not appreciate being born.
Right, but you're not saying it shouldn't be born.
Well, if I personally could say it shouldn't be, yeah, that's right. I wouldn't let it happen.
Do you accept, because it seems to be inevitable, do you accept that all life, not just human, but all life involves suffering? Your solution, your ideal solution, would be to end all life because that is the one guaranteed way of ending suffering.
Yes, it's called antinatalism. People have written books about it. Yes, I think life is a zero-sum game.
I just wanted to clarify that. Let's move on to
I just want to go one sentence.
The point where this reaches the facile, let's start with a tautology that successful patterns propagate successfully. If you want to actually promote antinatalism and not propagating genetics as the way that you think is the way forwards, then it's bloody obvious to a blind man that this is not a successful pattern. You don't need to know much about biology to realize that creatures that don't propagate become extinct.
We genetically inherit our philosophy, in other words. Okay, so a Christian has to be a Christian, a Muslim has to be a Muslim, a scientist has to be a scientist because we inherit philosophy.
What are you talking?
Well, you just basically said we inherit philosophy.
No, I said successful patterns.
Successful patterns? Patterns of what? I have a philosophy. My father wasn't an antinatalist. My mother was not an antinatalist. Okay, my entire family is not antinatalist. I obviously have not followed some genetic pattern in being an antinatalist. No, I followed an intellectual pattern.
Let me ask you this, Gary.
Can I one at a time? We'll go to the other first and then we'll come to our own.
How many societies in the world promote antinatalism?
Do I care? Is it a popularity contest? I'm making a logical argument. I'm not making the argument from popularity. Okay, how many people are Christian? How many people are Muslim?
Gary, you've had ample opportunity to give all the I've come to respond.
The same reason that you don't find societies that have antinatalism is the same reason that you don't have societies that like to put their heads in blankets.
Right, that's why we have a cutthroat capitalism, is because that's the right way to go, because it's going to be the most probable. Using and abusing and raping is a successful strategy in the long run, so that's why we'll have more of it. More exploitation, because human beings can never be anything but their biology. I mean, I think that's a ludicrous, facile argument.